Hey guys, what's going on? It's Space Cowboy here. Welcome back to the channel with another video for you guys here today. Before we get started, if you guys can hit the like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Also subscribe if you're new and hit the notification bell if you want more Cowboys content in your feed. And with that, we need to talk about what we're hearing about Mike McCarthy being the play caller, what the offense is going to look like, what changes are being made, because this is going to be a huge deal, especially considering the fact that now that we're going into year 4, we're starting to get a higher set of expectations depending on what the Cowboys do ultimately with their roster and free agency, the draft, and if they make trades. So, we know Mike McCarthy is going to be the play caller. Jerry Jones has said it. Stephen Jones has said it. And we're hearing the players now talk about it. Dak Prescott, and this is the reason why I made the video, said that he expects the Cowboys offense to change up to 20 to 30% compared to what we were expecting with the Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore, Scott Linehan based offense. Now that 20-30% that's being changed, we don't know what's the makeup of that, and if it's honestly going to be a situation where it's like, okay, Mike McCarthy had influence on some plays that were in there, and then Kellen Moore took care of the rest. Like, we don't know exactly what that makes up, but we can kind of use context clues for what happened during the season to get a sense of what we should expect. So the first thing is I do believe that option routes are going to be eliminated. If you recall, we know that Mike and Kellen had some, I don't want to say animosity if that's the correct word, because I'm not sure if they hated each other on a personal level, but definitely on a coaching level, they did not like each other's philosophies. My guy Jay Tuck over at CFO Sports, he talked about it. Not only that, we've had plenty of other guys mention it in the YouTube space. Then we were hearing word that there was a philosophical battle through the media as a rumor. And then we finally have it with Stephen Jones and Jerry talking about how both of them didn't get along. There was a philosophical battle between the two. And that's not a healthy for your team. If your head coach wants the offense to be done a certain way and your offensive coordinator is doing it another way, that screams of ineptitude. And on top of that, it's going to lead to poor results. So option routes are most likely gone. The next thing is we will have plays designed for certain players to get the ball. And while we kind of saw that with CeeDee Lamb getting force-fed the ball, there really wasn't anything for anybody else. And it just kind of felt like, okay, we're just calling plays for a particular player to just get the stat sheet, looked into. So we should be seeing guys that are playmakers get the ball more. And we might see a better game plan and coaching philosophy when it comes to how games are managed. Because we had this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde feel with the Cowboys offensively with Kellen Moore. One game, he would call a masterful game that would be like, where the hell was this? Then the next game, it's like he just goes into a turtle shell. And I've talked about that oh my God, for as long as I remember Kellen Moore being here. It's just been this, okay, he looks really good, then he gets into a shell, and then he looks really conservative and bad. That's where my gripe was. It was the inconsistent nature of Kellen Moore's play calling. And we understand that the front office has been like, we want it run a certain way, and that's been an ongoing thing. And we've talked about that for years. And I'm not the only one. There have been people on Twitter, other, content creators we've mentioned that the in-house calls to do certain things exist. But the big thing, too, is that when you look at what the Cowboys have said, I'm talking about from the front office, they are keen on saying this is Mike McCarthy's offense. And, if that's the case and you let him cook, I think we'll be just fine. Because and I'm not trying to say that he is like this particular coach, but Andy Reid calls the plays, right, in Kansas City. Now, when he was in Philadelphia, there was the mixture of who's calling the plays. From what I understand, he did. But sometimes what happens is that when you get into another situation, it helps you reevaluate where you are. And I think Mike McCarthy is going to do that here. If you pay attention to Mike McCarthy's hires, let's look at it this way. You brought in Brian Schottenheimer way before you considered, you know, bringing him up and removing Kellen Moore. Like, this was before the fact. And honestly, you kind of saw, like, hey, if Kellen Moore leaves, you probably have your guy in waiting in Brian Schottenheimer. So you brought in a Brian Schottenheimer, and with that, we have seen, based off of what he did in Seattle and also what he has as a, coach in this league, he's experienced, and he's not calling plays. He has been touted as being a great play designer, but not a great play caller. And he and the Seahawks got into a philosophical argument because he wanted the offense run a certain way. Pete Carroll wanted the offense run a certain way. And keep in mind, the offense that he was running was the whole let Russ cook thing, and where people started talking about that. That was Brian Schottenheimer. And then you bring in a guy from the college ranks, and I believe he's from Southern California, USC. And that's awesome. Like, you're getting guys in here as offensive consultants. You're getting guys in here with different philosophies to ultimately help you figure out what you want to do offensively. Now, again, I could be wrong and the offense looks the exact same and we're just screwed, but that is the things that I'm looking at, is that Mike McCarthy is bringing in an apparatus of guys to help him call plays, which, by the way, Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl calling the plays. And so we have seen coaches that when they call the plays, they have phenomenal, track records, and others, sure, not as well. But with Mike McCarthy, he doesn't have a bad track record of being a play caller. In fact, he gave up play calling duties, I believe, in 2015, 2016, somewhere around that period of time. And that was towards the tail end of his tenure in Green Bay. So to kind of close this out, what other things should we be hearing? Okay, if we hear that the verbiage is changing, that's a big key that Mike McCarthy is really having an imprint on this offense. But we haven't heard that yet. I've tried looking. There was nothing there. I think that you having a straight line to the quarterback, number one, and your offense is key. I think that you understanding what you want done and not having a battle between what should be done, what play should we call, what's the philosophy, that is huge too. I think the Cowboys having that out of the room, regardless of how you feel on Kellen Moore, is good for the team. You're going to ride and die by Mike McCarthy, and he's coaching for his job now, whether we want to admit it or not. And we know Dan Quinn is most likely that coach in waiting now, because now that Kellen Moore has gone, and I could be wrong there again. But I think that you're going to see a mix of everything. You're going to see what he did in Green Bay. You're going to see a usage of analytics and other forms of statistics to determine what we'll do. And I like that. I'm not going to be two-faced with it. I understand that every situation is ambiguous, but I am very happy that we're more aggressive than conservative when it comes to the play calling. And on top of that, new offensive trends. We haven't seen Mike McCarthy call plays in quite some time. And who knows, maybe he's really good, maybe he's really bad, we don't know. But I think it's good that the Cowboys are letting the coaches do their thing. Now, if we see the same play calls and we see the same stuff, oh, we're having an issue. Mike, you said you were going to make these changes, but what have you done? So I do believe that's where we'll stop there. I think it's imperative that the Cowboys get a new offensive philosophy, which they have. Now you go get the ingredients for your head coach to cook, and let's let this thing roll. And so with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, once again, if you can leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and hit the notification bell, that'd be great. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.